Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Thursday night live stream. We are on episode 49. Before we get started, I have got a video to show you for the membership, but after that, we'll get straight into the topic which we're going to do tonight, which is the Aragon book cover. So I'll just share with you the membership video, and I'll see you in a second. So, you want to join my membership?
Gotcha. Sign up.
By joining, you won't only unlock members-only content, you'll also be supporting my channel and the growth of the community. Are you ready to do your part?
I'm doing my part.
For as little as a price of coffee a month,
God damn, Jimmy. This some serious gourmet
you'll be able to access all past live streams and get exclusive members-only content.
Yeah, boy.
That's less than 49p a video.
Shut up and take my money.
So if you're ready, join now and become part of this 3D journey.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Alright, so as you saw there, you can become a member of the YouTube channel and you can unlock all the Monday night tutorial live streams where we've done the anatomy. Well, we're doing the anatomy. We have a full-on dragon sculpt that you can do as well. And then if you become a Patreon level tier 3, you can unlock an exclusive tutorial on how to sculpt a velociraptor inside of ZBrush. This will take you from the start to end. It's good for beginners and experienced artists, and it's just a nice tutorial to follow along to, and you get something nice to put in your portfolio as well. And they also have, at the moment, a new tutorial on how to sculpt a golem using ZBrush. Hard surface techniques with organic techniques sort of thrown in there, so you're using organic techniques to make hard surfaces. It's really fun. It's a short tutorial because they'll be moving on to something else afterwards. So yeah, become a tier 3 member and you'll be able to unlock that as well. Oops, there we are. Okay, so let me just get the comments up. Let me know in the comments section if you can hear me all right. I'm still getting used to this new microphone setup that I have, and stick some music on real quick. Cool. All right, so gonna jump into ZBrush because we've got a very long one tonight. I kind of want to get this done as fast as possible because I don't want to spend 3 hours of live stream on this one. So I'm just going to jump straight into. Let me just first share my screen. That would be good. There we are. Not that one. Oh, there we go. Let me just put that there. Let me just fix this quick. A second. Remove. There we are. There you go. I hate when that happens. Always mess it up. Anyway, yeah, so we've been working on this dragon bust of Aragon for the last couple of live streams, and tonight I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and just get this texturing done, get the rendering done. Hopefully we'll be able to also get the Photoshop done tonight. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to try and blitz through it as I take questions and, you know, talk about topics. So if you have any questions as I go along, chuck them in the chat. It can be about this or any films or games you've played or any sort of news you might have. But yeah, just gonna get on and do this now. So let's just go over to the body here. What I want to do first is just come down to the layers, and I'm just gonna bake all the layers down. Actually, I'm going to undo that because we have the recording on, and I need to turn off recording and bake all as well. It's a funny thing last week, right? Before I get started, I didn't realize that if you shared, because I'm using StreamYard, if you share audio on a screen and you have the music in the background like I have on all the time, it'll do a double music hit. So it'll be like a 10-second delay between the songs, but it'll have like a double hit. And it's just like when I was watching last week's one, it just got on my nerves because I could just hear the double music. So if you do hear that in the future, I'll try not to do it in the future too much, but if you do hear that, let me know in the comments section. Okay, got a comment already from Joseph. Hey Joseph, you all right? He says, I just want to say thank you for the advice regarding the grainy thing. It worked. Oh, well, I'm happy to help you out there. I can't remember exactly what the grainy thing was, but I'm glad I was able to help. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, now that I've pulled the layers out, or dropped the layers, the first thing I normally do is I'll go over here and I'll grab the skin shade. Material, modifiers, drop the specular a bit, because I don't want any specular on, because I'm going to add my own specular later. And I kind of just want to sort of add some color tones to this now, because this is a sapphire dragon. It's going to be quite easy to do. I have got a few references down here actually, so I do like the look of this one, the way it sort of glistens. It looks like it's got this glistening look to it, speckled look to it. So we might even add a bit of that into the image that we do later. But I think even the dragon from the film has got, in some shots, has got quite nice looking blue hues to it. But we kind of want to keep it like the original book as much as possible. So we'll keep it to a mainly a lot of blue hues onto this character. So let's just turn off all the paint layers and let's try and find a sapphire base color. Don't want to go too light, but then again I also don't want to go too dark, so keeping it mid-level is pretty good. Just go here, make sure you have RGB turned on, not mRGB, but only RGB, because it helps later on when we're doing the rendering stuff to just be able to switch off the RGB color map. Good coffee. Right, color, fill object. Make sure the intensity is at 100 as well. The horns don't actually have horns. I mean, these do. I guess these are the horns. They're supposed to represent the horns in a sort of illustrative style. They're very thin and gangly, but if you were to make an actual dragon, it would look a bit weird. So they could possibly be the horns. So what I'm going to do is, instead of having them the same sapphire color, I'm just going to darken them a little bit more, and then still have the blue hue to it, but I'm just going to make them slightly darker. I'm going to do the same thing for the well, to the face, the main horns up here as well. So I'm just going to come over here and fill that object in. Why did that not work? Oh, that's because I have layers. Wait a second. Make sure you bake all your layers down on all the subtools first. There we are. And for the eyes, what I'm going to do with the eyes, I'm just going to make them a kind of light white, sort of greyish hue. I don't want to go full white with them. I want to have a slight white to them. And in fact, we might even use the same color for these back spines here. So we'll just fill in the color here as well for those. Let me just check those layers off first. Nope, nothing there. Good. Just going to fill that in like so. So now that's the first part of this done. The teeth are connected to the horns, but we'll color them in later anyway, so don't worry about that. So that's the first stage done. Now I'm going to come in here with a paintbrush and just do a very quick paint over of the dragon, different hues and whatnot, just so it's not so flat as well. Turn off dynamic. There we are. Let's get some darker hues of blue in here. So we'll start off with the chest. The back of the neck here as well, we'll make that a darker hue. I don't technically use a lot of different like alphas or anything like that. I tend to just use the basic alphas for the texturing side of things. But if you want, you can do it your own way, I guess. Whatever suits you. In fact, yeah. Okay, so the front of the muzzle here, if we look at the image, it has a kind of skin tone to it, which is a little weird, if you ask me. So instead of having just a white, like a skin tone, proper skin tone, we're going to color that in grey in the front, like a light grey. And then obviously the eye sockets need to be dark as well. The general eye area. How's everybody's week been, by the way? Before I go any further, I don't want to keep talking about the sculpt, but I want to know how everyone's week has been so far. Have they had a good week? Have you worked hard, hopefully? Have you all been working on your own projects as well? Let me make that nose. Wet and windy. Oh yeah, definitely wet and windy. I'll tell you what, I am actually a little disappointed with the weather, to be fair. I was expecting the worst winter of since history began, right? Or since they started recording the weather. But I gotta tell you, it's been quite mellow, really. It's been actually quite warm. And the reason I'm a little bit pissed off is because I work from home and I'm doing this thing where I don't turn on the heating this winter because I wanted to test out just how cold it can be in a flat, in a new flat, and see if I could survive without turning the heating on. I gotta tell you, it's not bad. It's not that bad. I know a lot of other people, maybe older people, who need the heating, are probably struggling a little bit. So I'm not sort of, I'm not playing that down. But personally, I haven't had an issue with the weather at all, which is kind of strange because I haven't. Because what I've done is I've actually bought a sleeping bag for my feet, so I could put my feet in it when I work from home. I bought like 4 blankets for the bedroom, just so that my feet don't get cold, because I find that it's mainly my feet that gets cold, and I just haven't used them, which sucks because I've spent all that money on bloody blankets and stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm just. I don't know. Maybe I'm just stupid. Maybe it is cold and I'm just so used to it. Okay. It's looking pretty nice. Get those teeth white. There we are. Joseph says, had a little time to watch a movie, The Running Man. I highly recommend it. For me, it's a great and entertaining action sci-fi. You know what? I was going to buy that to watch, but I forgot to, and stuff got in the way. But I have heard good things about it. I think I can remember the first Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think that was it. I think, why is it not painting? Uh-oh. Have I broken it? Oh, the intensity's not high enough. Yeah, I watched I sort of watched the first one years ago. Can't even remember when I last saw it, but essentially it's a competition, right, where the person has to survive for a certain amount of time or get to a certain place in time, and then he gets to win a lot of money. That's about as much as I can remember from the film that I saw. Yeah, it looks like a fun film. I think those stupid fun films like that should come back a lot more, because I think we've had such serious things of late, and some really bad things. I think we just need to get some stupid stuff back in the cinemas. Like franchises are always going to do well, but if we could just get stupid, silly stuff like back in the 90s, early 2000s, they had the whole scary movie saga, didn't they? Where they had all those scary movies that were done on like a minute budget, and they were just something to fill in the time between proper films. You don't get that much anymore. You're only getting blockbusters, which kind of sucks, to be fair. I think they should definitely bring back the stupid films. There's it, masking. And now I'm going to just start to use mask by cavity. This is the technique I use, and the technique that I call is it washing or inking? Basically, if you've ever painted Warhammer or done anything of the sort, you'll know what this is. It's basically you're taking the null oil, or a dark tone or a light tone, and you're masking out the cavities, and then you're going to fill those cavities in with different colors, and that makes the model pop a little bit more. So that's how I typically found this out, was by watching a lot of people painting Warhammer online, right? And this sort of just clicked in my head. Maybe I could use the same thing for ZBrush, and so I started to use it inside my sculpts and on my texturing, and it came out really nicely. It actually works really well. So you can see here, if I put this down a bit, you can see here now we're only painting the top parts of the scales because we've sort of masked out the rest of it, and it just gives you an extra layer of detail with the brush that you didn't have before. It just works really nicely. Hey, Celestial's in. Hey, yeah, you are late, but that's all right. I'm just painting the model at the moment, so you're not missing much. Got Master Splinter saying great tie into mini painting. That's brilliant for poly painting. Yeah, I mean, you could really take a lot away from what you could learn from a sort of miniature painting to use inside of this sort of techniques that I'm showing you here, which is great because, you know, it's also a really nice hobby to do miniature painting. It's one of those therapeutic things, I find. So yeah. Splitter says, do you reverse the mask for dry brushing? You could, yeah, you could definitely do that. Well, at the moment this is a dry brushing technique, because if you see the mask here, you can see where it's dark is where it's masked, right? So if I had to make another mask, now you can see inside here would be the inking. So if I grew this up, in fact, let's just boost the mask a couple of times. Oh, that's actually going to give us a nice look, actually. You see that? You see that with the edge of each scale is now masked, which is really cool. If we keep boosting this, and then maybe we blur it a little bit, so we come in and mask adjust. Would this work? Let me just see. Yeah, maybe that will. And turn off the mask. Now if we come in here with a lighter color, you can see we now can come in and maybe we add a alpha as well. We can start to very slowly, because I turned the intensity down, right? And actually it's better if you turn the intensity down. We can now very slowly add that edge highlight to each one of those scales using that masking technique. And that's just going to help to make those scales pop just a little bit more on your dragon. It might be very, very subtle, but it will work. All right. Yeah, it might look very subtle from what you can see on the screen, but trust me, it is there, and it will show through later. Now, I don't want to go too white because it's supposed to be a sapphire. So if you want, you can then come in, view the mask, and what I want to do is invert it and boost it, and then blur it. You want to kind of blur it a little bit as well every time, because when you boost it, it'll start to get pixelated and really sharp mask. So I just do a little bit of a blur at the end, and it will give that little bit of blur to it on the edges. So I'm just going to come in here now again with this mask, added, and just using a light blue, I'm just going to put some light blue just roughly scattered. You can kind of see it coming through here a little bit, so you can see we have the edge still is highlighted with the white, or dry brush with the white, and we got a little bit of a hint of blue underneath or on top of the scale there. So it's really cool. Slasher says, I'm also painting in ZBrush right now. I had no idea about mask adjust features. Well, yeah, there's plenty of different types of mask and adjust features in here. One of my favorites actually is the ambient occlusion one, because I'll show you what that does a little later. But yeah, it's a really cool technique to get some cool looking masks on here. So now you can see the majority of the time I am just using mask by cavity, because we have such good cavity with those scales, right? So you can see it picks up all the cavity in the scales really well. Just gonna invert it, and let me just see here quick. You can even add the blur to the mask as well if you want to. That'll give you some difference as well. And I'm gonna hide that and just paint on top. So you can see there's blues now poking through. Maybe we'll add even a lighter blue in that area to really pick up, because you can see on the nostril here and on the face, it's not supposed to be an angry dragon really. It's supposed to be quite a friendly one, so we don't want to go too angry looking with the scales. But if you build up your textures slowly, then what's a great thing about this is you can take this, if you had a model that was UV mapped, you can then take it into Substance Painter as a base texture, and so you've actually got something you can use later on as a base texture that you can then build on top of. That's really cool actually, the way you can do that. If you add some variations of color of scales as well, don't just stick with one, because they very rarely, there's a reptile have the same type of color sort of scales next to each other. So try and vary it up. What I like to do, in fact, is with the ones that are close to the top scales here, if you make them darker, it kind of gives a nice bleed onto the lighter ones, so it's not going straight from light to dark. You kind of bleed it into each other. It just helps sell it a bit more. As well as in here as well. So you see there's two parts here where we have a dark patch here and we got the light patch here, and in between there's nothing really, and it's not really blending very well. Well, you can then just use that masking technique. You can get a darker color and just try to blend in those two parts a little better. Now obviously the detail of it is going to be key, so if you have really pixelated detail, it's not going to help very much with the scales. Another reason why we use layers for the scales is because when you have layers for the scales, you can make them slightly bigger. If you duplicate the layer, you can make them slightly deeper, and then that will help with cavity maps quite a lot. So I'm just going to mask with the cavity map again, and this time I'm going to invert it and I'm going to grow it. Just wait for a second. Here we are. So now we're going to go in between each of those scales. And what you can do now, so this is kind of like the inking that I was talking about with the Warhammer 40k stuff. So now you can come in, you can kind of ink without touching those scales, the top of the scales. You can ink those parts in. It's actually really nice, come out really nice. Now don't do it, I think there's a cool technique to do. So don't do it near the dark scales, but do it near the lighter scales so that you can get that nice transition. You see? Like so. And don't do it up here, because then what will happen is you'll lose all those little cavities in there, you see. You lose all those little cavities in there, so don't do it near those ones. But ones that are sort of out here, maybe, in no man's land, you can probably do it here, just under here. Anywhere there's a light one, it's probably a cool idea to add some dark patch in there, maybe in the nostril area. Top here on the ridge. So yeah, it's quite a lot of things you can do, and there's also sort of what I like about this as well is when you're using these techniques, you can really see the dragon coming through, right? You can really see how the textures help to sell the dragon a bit more, which is really cool. Mask by cavity. So you see these little dots in here where the eye is, iris, these little ones here. We're just going to paint those ones now. So we're going to use a really small brush and just come in here and highlight those scales in the iris area. We don't want to do it too much because we still want the iris area to be a little darker, but we can definitely highlight the scales around them. Okay, and we just view the mask. If I invert this now and I color pick is using C on the keyboard. If you tap on C and you hover over the color you like, that will color pick that color. So that's a cool little technique as well to remember. And just going to darken there a little bit. Okay. What do you think of that? It's not looking too bad, is it? Let's just view this mask again. I'm going to invert it. I'm going to grow it. Or boost it. No, let's grow it. And boost it. What I want to do is I just want to get along the ridge of this nose here. Just want to add a little highlight with a mask underneath as well, so not get into the new cavities. Okay. Maybe we can lighten the top of the head a little bit because it looks very dark. So let's just view the mask. Oh, let's make a mask. There we are. And turn that off. I'm just going to highlight the head, the top of the head here. Those scales. And just very light touch to the back of the scales here, just to give it a bit of difference between the scaling there. Just gives it a nice look to them. Alright. I think underneath the mouth here is just a little dark. So we'll just make that a little brighter as well. I mean, I don't want to, I can do a lot of this stuff inside of Photoshop later anyway, but don't want to spend a lot of time in here. So I'm just going to clear that mask. By the way, it's a good idea to remember to clear your mask when using those masking techniques, because the last thing you want to do is start to sculpt or move something and you've got the mask still activated, because then it's going to break your model and it might even crash the ZBrush. So just remember that when you're doing your own. We've got the horns, and let's make a mask here. Let's blur it and just paint the tips of them. And might make the tips darker actually. be whiter. Yeah, maybe that will be fine. Let's try these ones up. Let's just clear that mask and put a new mask on this one. Blur it. Just going to color pick there and just try to blend that base. Cool. How's everyone doing? Has anyone else seen any good shows lately? Just finished The Traitors UK the other day. I think it's the first time I've seen The Traitors UK, and they've won. The Traitors. Well, actually, I don't want to say anything because you might not have seen it yet, so I'm just gonna keep it stunt. But yeah, very happy with the way that ended. I think it was a good ending. Got under the neck there. That's fine. You won't even see the bottom of the neck anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. Right, let's dry these horns out here. Or these spikes even. Yep. So I'm just gonna... I'm not even gonna mask it out. I'm just gonna paint the base of them sort of a darker tone than the tips. I think we're going very good here now. We've got some good stuff going. What I also like to do, by the way, when I'm doing this painting style, is to stay away from too much black and too much white in the colors. Technically, or typically, or actually technically, you should never actually use pure black or pure white in anything, because it cancels everything out, right? It's not a great color. It's not great. That's not a color, is it? It's what's it called? It's just not a good color pick to use when using when painting anything really. You'll always find that the black, if you paint with black, it's got to be slightly lighter than black, just so it's not pure black. Same with white. So it's not pure white. Celestial says, I'm planning to watch A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I've seen trailers for that. Is that the one that's based on... well, it's not based on, but it's basically A Knight's Tale. Everyone else remember watching A Knight's Tale? That was a good film. That's one of my favourite films, actually. When I was a kid. Used to love watching that film. Okay, but I think it's based around the same premise, I guess. You have this huge, tall, half giant man who enters a competition, I guess, with other houses. I don't think it's got anything to do with dragons, by the way. It's set in the same realm as Game of Thrones, but it's not got anything to do with dragons. It's more of like a jousting and fighting competition. But yeah, if you haven't seen A Knight's Tale, watch that first, then watch A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and you'll see the similarities. Apparently, I haven't seen A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, but I've been told it's very similar to A Knight's Tale. A Knight's Tale has just got everything in it. Yep, that's exactly right. It's a Game of Thrones show. It's not Knight's Tale, but it's a Game of Thrones show. Or set in the universe of Game of Thrones, I guess you could say. It's a spin-off. There you go. That's better, right? Spin off. Just gonna color in the back here, and then we can move on. Just gonna clear all the masks. Then we can move on to. Actually, I'm gonna leave it. Doesn't really matter. Then we can move on to rendering. So for the eyes, I typically like to do it outside of ZBrush because it's a lot easier to do inside of Photoshop. Yes, Joseph, Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so I like to do the eyes outside of Photoshop, inside of Photoshop, because what I like to do is just take a photo bash an eye from somewhere else onto the dragon, do a bit of photo bashing with it, and it usually comes out quite nice. It's one of those tricky things I found when I was learning how to do this texturing and rendering and photoshopping and stuff like that. Was I was looking at a lot of people that I admired, and I always wondered, how do they do the eyes so well? And I think I watched one or two artists work on YouTube, and they just do the same thing. They just go into Photoshop, they'll take an eye from somewhere else, and then they'll just stick an eye on top, and they'll just use that, because it's quicker to do that as a concept artist than it is to sculpt an eye and put an eye in and whatever. Yes, Celestials, I'm not using my IMM eyes. I mean, I could use my IMM eyes and add them in. Yeah, actually, let's do that. Let's find those IMM eyes so I can show you what they're all about. Let me just move that over to the side real quick. Let me just find those eyes real quick. VDM brushes. Oh, it's going to take a minute. Yeah, because I do have IMM eyes. I just keep forgetting to use them, to be fair. I even forget that I have them sometimes. Sorry, just waiting for the brushes to load. That's the wrong one. In a second. Tools, brushes, VDM, VDM? Yeah, that's the one. Okay, let's try this out. Let me load this in. So you can see I have the one that you can see now at the top here. These are eyes that I've actually created for my 20 IMM brushes. 20 IMM brushes. They're just a bunch of random eyes that I've created for. You can use it for concepting as well as sculpting. But what I need to do is I need to duplicate this model. Hide that one. Geometry. I'm just gonna delete high, and now I can use it. So the thing with IMM brushes is that you either have to freeze the model that you're using, then use the IMM brush because it doesn't work with layers, or what I usually do just to be safe is just duplicate my model and then delete the layers, and then I can use my IMM brushes. So you just pull out two eyes. They come in a bit weird. I don't know why, but they come in a bit weird. So you need to just make sure your local symmetry is turned on. I'm going to turn that to white as well. Oh, it's not working. Okay. Oh, I need to split it. That's right. Split the mask. Turn off the low res. Turn on the high res. Turn off the eyes. And move these into position. A bit freaky. Just moving them around, trying to get a good position. A good scale as well. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to fill that color. Let me just turn off. Yeah, let's try it there. Tomorrow says there is a decent animal eye plugin for ZBrush. Is there? I haven't checked. But so guys, I'm so busy normally. I don't have time to keep up to date with a lot of the ZBrush stuff these days. So I do apologize. That's too white, isn't it? Yeah, that's better. I'm gonna duplicate that. Sorry, subdivide that. There you are. Delete that one. Don't need that one anymore. And we can actually come in here with the paintbrush, and I'm just going to color pick from my surroundings now. So I'm going to put the iris in and do a quick paint. Just coming down to the masking, mask by cavity, blur it, boost it, looks weird. Sorry, just laughing at my own work here. Clear. I'll be able to enhance it later inside Photoshop. But, yeah. Sorry. I think I'm going to leave it like that. And for the eye here, just going to grab the move brush and move this down a bit. There's going to be a lot of rotating to get these eyes looking right. Bug-eyed. All right. Don't like that white. White looks a bit. It looks a bit too white. Oops. Let's just add some red. Okay. You might not see it, but there might be a hint of it around the edges, which is cool. Okay, I'm not going to mess about with it too much now. Spent way too long inside ZBrush as it is, and we are on a schedule. So, just going to delete that one. And let's get on to posing. So the next stage is to pose the character. And the good thing about this one is it's not going to take that much to pose it. So what I normally tend to do is come up to the Z plugin. Well, actually, first of all, no, let's do it this way. So Z plugin, come down to, was it Subtool Master? No, it was Transpose Master. Turn on layers because I want to be able to get back to the neutral pose that I had before. And so in order to do that, it's best to put it on a layer so you don't break it. And then go T-pose mesh. Right, now we can pose this character. So it's going to be quite easy actually. All we got to do really is grab the head, turn off perspective first, then grab the head and unmask the horns. Of course, the more complex your character, the more complex the stance you might have with it, the longer it will take inside of here. But because it's quite a basic pose and it's already halfway done because of the sculpt, that's going to be quite easy. So just going to make the mask a lot softer, and we need to unmask its back spines as well. Let's select these ones and let us, let's unmask those ones. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, unhide everything. Let's see if this works. You might need some fixing in the back of the horns here, or spikes later on. This is kind of where you can brute force it as well, which is quite cool, because we know we're not going to be using this as a character in film or anything like that. We can really go ahead and brute force it so it poses in the right position that we want, because you'll only be seeing it from one position, right? When you look at the book cover, you're literally just going to see it from one pose. So there's an opportunity here to really destroy it in order to make it work. Pull this gonna move this. So I'm just concentrating a little bit so I can get this looking right. So the last thing I want to do is make it look weird. Okay. Celestials asks, have you ever done hand-painted textures like in World of Warcraft? The closest I've got to, let me just try and find it online real quick. Let me just drag this over here quick. So under my games here, if you scroll down to the very bottom, you'll find the Heroes Realm from Good Game Studios, and this is the closest I ever got to doing hand-painted textures for characters. These are all hand-painted using 3D coat, and this was a very long time ago, so my skills is very, very small at doing when I was doing this, and I was a very beginner artist, so I do apologize if it looks a bit weird. But these are all hand-painted using techniques such as light maps, AO, the same techniques that League of Legends used on their characters. We used on these ones, and it actually, once you get into a rhythm, it becomes really fun to paint hand painted textures, because you're kind of painting. You have to paint the light source as well as the shadows and the different materials. You have to kind of paint them all by hand, and so you kind of get used to how metal reflects and all these other things. So that's the closest I've ever gotten to hand painted textures. But I do actually want to try it out again at some point. Okay, so we know that this one here is effed, so let's just fix that, shall we? How do we do this? Let's select the horns. I'm just gonna have to brute force this one. Just clean it up as best I can. Hopefully it won't be as noticeable in the end. Oh, I hate fixing things. Okay, that's gonna do for now. I'm not gonna spend too much time on that. Use a move brush. Just gonna move these in. It's probably one of the only downsides of using transpose tools when you're posing, is you have to be careful how you mask and move things, because it might just break. Let's try that out. Okay, so the eyes now need to, oops, let's try. Of course, remember when we're doing this as a 3D model, it's going to be quite difficult to get it looking exactly like the book, because the book can kind of fake things, right? So I think I mentioned this last week with the spikes on the back here. They're kind of faking that sort of curve because the spine's not here. The spine's actually further back behind. Same thing with this eye and the left hand side here. It's visible from what we can see here, but it won't be that easy to do it inside of 3D. So kind of have to take the good with the bad and try your hardest to make everything sort of fit as much as possible, but just know that there's limitations for when you do it using 3D. So I think something along the lines of that, and then we can use a move brush just to edge it to one side a bit more. We can make it look a little sadder. Oops, let's first not disturb that eye. Okay, let's see how this looks when we transpose it. So once you're happy with the way the poses looks, you can go to Z plugin and hit the T-pose subtool, T-pose to subtool, and that'll just pose our dragon for us. Okay. It's not looking too bad. And the next thing I want to do is I just want to make sure the document is in the right size. So at the moment it's set to width of 1476 and height of 920. I think I have the dimensions here. So before I actually go do that, I have been into Photoshop before the live stream started to get the dimensions of the book right. So what I did was, if I open up Photoshop here, I kind of made a basic front cover, right? So it's not the final front cover because I really like the font on the actual cover, but I just have to make something real quick so we can put our dragon in somewhere. But what I think I'll do outside of the live stream is just make it look a little bit more professional. But anyway, what I want to do is just find out what the image size here. So it's 1800 by 2700. Okay, so turn off Pro. 18, height 27. Now I'm just going to resize it first. Hit Control N to, whoops, hit T on the keyboard. There you go. Not Control N. I'm going to just zoom out and just see how big this is. Now, typically, what you want to do is double the size, right? So if you come over here to Documents, you want to come over to this button here and hit double the size, and that will make the size of the pixels much finer, and it'll make the size of the image bigger. This is great if you have something like posters or anything like that you want to make sure that it's got enough pixel density in there so that when it prints you don't get that jaggedy edge, or if you scale it up inside of Photoshop you don't get a jaggedy edge appearing. So I'm just going to double this. Now what that's going to do is it's actually going to make it very heavy rendering on the rendering side. Alright, so just be prepared to have ZBrush crash on you if it does. So what I'm going to do first is just go File, Save As. Let's save this as number 2. There we are. So we're just saving the scene before we go any further. Right. That's where the fun begins. Actually, the fun begins in Photoshop. So, so the next thing I want to do is come over to the drawer. And under draw you have the camera setting, and it's set to horizontal, and it's horizontal at the moment. So horizontal is great for landscape stuff, and vertical is great for portraits. So we turn on portrait mode, or vertical mode. I like to call it portrait mode, because we are rendering in portrait, so you want to make sure you're rendering using the vertical. Also, I find that it's better to flatten the focal length by increasing the number to flatten the image, because it helps to just flatten the image really. I mean it's going to be a front cover, it's going to be a front cover, and you want to get as much of it in as possible, so why not flatten it a bit more. It also stops the fisheye lens look going, and we don't really want that for a front cover, do we? A fisheye lens look. So just going to use that there. Let's see what happens if we bump it up even more. The higher you get it, the more that it concaves on itself. The lower you take it, the less it concaves and becomes fisheyed. So I just want to play around with that until you're happy with the kind of look you're going for. I'm going to bring that reference back in a minute. Where is it? Whoop, there it is. So we got a fairly sad looking dragon, which is cool. try and find that good focal length. Maybe bring it down a bit so it's a bit more fish-eyed. Do we need to be pointing it up a bit more? You better, yeah. Tricky one. Kind of needs to be pointing the nose to one side a bit more. Maybe we can go back into T-pose mesh. You can do this multiple times. It keeps adding a layer on top, so you're pretty safe, really. What I just want to do is, oops. Grab that. Why is that doing that? There you go. That looks better. What do you guys think? Do you think that looks better? I think that looks better. Can even play around the draw in here. The focal length in here. Yeah, alright, thanks tomorrow. You're the only one that's sort of watching. Yeah, let's keep it like this one. I mean, it's going to look a bit more serious, I guess you'd say, but I think we can't really get away with it. We're not going to get exactly like the book, so let's just keep it like it is, like this. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. That's going to fit nice in that square there, that sort of frame we have as well. So just move us to the side a bit. Yep, cool. All right, let's keep that and let's put a cluster. So what I'm doing here is I'm just adding a, what do you call it? A bookmark. That's the one. Adding a bookmark to the camera here, so that if I ever move out of position, I can always go back up to documents and click on that cluster, and it will take me back to that bookmark. So if I move the camera out of sync here, then I can just hit that, and it will go back to the bookmarked version. Okay. Just going to save views real quick. Just doing it off screen. There we are. Right. I'm also going to save the file just in case this crashes. Alright, so we now have our dragon ready for rendering. Okay, so what's going on here? Why is it still saving? So now we have our dragon ready for rendering, and I'm just going to open up the side panel. I normally have the side panel full of the things that I normally use, so the rendering, lighting, materials, blah 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 blah. just going to come over to the the render here, render section. Go to render passes or render properties. I'm going to turn off. I'm going to leave shadows on, but I'm going to leave ambient occlusion off for now because I want to get the light right for the shadows first. So let's try putting the light there and doing a test. Okay, that's horrible. So what I'm looking for shadow wise is it not to interfere with the face too much, but I still want a bit of detail from the shadows. So what happens when we pull it to the other side quick? That looks promising. No, that's too much. Difficult one. Yeah, just try to probe around with the light to see where's the best position for it to begin with the first light. So this could take some time, by the way. So I hope you guys are willing to wait. But this could take some time to just get that one good shadow to work. Probably the benefit of having a real-time rendering is that you'll be able to update it really quickly, whereas with this technique you kind of have to set the light, then move around, then set the light, then move around, and render it, sorry, at the same time. And yeah, it's just can take a bit of time. Just going to turn the material specular up a bit. If we get a different result. Kind of like that one. It's not giving me a lot of shadow information. I'll probably have to fake it a little bit more inside of Photoshop, but I like the way it's kind of similar to the illustration here. We got the shadow under the chin, a little bit on the brow, and I think that's going to work pretty well. Let's just look at let's turn on the ambient occlusion, and then I'm going to adjust the settings in here so that I get my settings that I know work. Okay, let's try this. This is where it's going to take a little time to do because it's such a big image, and you've played around with the settings and the ambient occlusion and the shadows. So yeah, just need to cross your fingers and hope it doesn't break ZBrush. There we go. That's not too bad. It's very blue. The sort of the character the creature we create is very blue. That hasn't passed my mind. I'm hoping that the techniques we can incorporate inside of Photoshop afterwards are going to help bring out that white, a little bit more white to it. You can also use the PBR filters. I found PBR filters work pretty nicely. So you can sort of brighten the image a little bit. It's just all like post or effects before you export it, right? Let's try adding a material shader in here. Just going to move this out of the way real quick. Let's try... let's first select the body. Turn on BPR. Okay. Let's turn on... where is it? Droplets. Add. That's quite nice. Yeah, I've been using this technique quite a bit, so it helps to what is it? It's kind of like taking it in. It's kind of like doing a lot of the work inside of Photoshop, but just doing it inside of ZBrush. You don't have as good control over it, I find, but you have enough to do some basic stuff in here. So, like basic layering of materials. Let's see what this is. Overlay. New. Add. Okay, get in somewhere, get in somewhere. Joseph says, at this point, I'm always afraid my PC blows up. Yeah, I have noise cancelling headphones in at the moment, so I can't hear my PC, but I bet it is just screaming out. Just screaming for me to not be doing what I'm doing right now. Turn those down. Don't want it to affect the shadows or the ambient occlusion layer. Just gonna check my PBR render pass. Okay, so the shadows is doing something weird. You can see it's not quite how shadows react, so we need to come into the render properties. Sorry, the PBR shadows properties, and we need to turn up the V. I think it's turning it up. It's going to fix that. Just going to check real quick. I wonder if Christopher Paloni, is that how you say his name? Paloni, will ever see this live stream. He's the author of the book. And if you are, I am willing to do the other books for a commission. Okay, I need to turn down the PBR, this one down to 1, -1. Tomorrow says, I really hope the author sees your... Thank you. Yes, it'd be nice to... I think it would be nice to work on... If it's the exact same covers as the original covers, just updating them. I have no problem doing that. I love doing dragon busts, and I can do them pretty quickly and get a pretty quick turnover, so I would be happy to do that as a freelance gig. Definitely. Yeah. Alright, I think that one worked pretty well. Yeah, shadows look better in that one. We'll adjust them later. Okay, so I have here now, just going to go to the PBR filters. I think this one here is a little high. Just going to turn these down a little bit. So let's say I'm happy with this. I'm ready to take this into ZBrush. What I can do is come over to render pass. Now, normally I would go for the shaded one, but because I added a few of those BPR filters into the final image, I actually have to take the composed version because that's going to give me the PBR filters on top. So I'm just going to click on this now off screen, but I'm just going to make a new folder, call it Photoshop. This is what I normally do. I'll call it Photoshop. In there, I'll just save that as a PSD folder, a PSD file, a Photoshop file, sorry. for those who don't know what that is. I'm just going to save as composite. You can name these things if you like, but I don't see the point because I do it so often that I know exactly what I want. And the other ones, I mean, these ones just, they give you a name anyway. So it's a PBR depth. I'm going to take the depth, the shadow, the ambient occlusion, and the mask. Okay, so that's the first one done. God, I really want to move this out of the way. It keeps getting in my way. Let me make it smaller. Let me just have that book in there. There you go. Celestial says he'll 100% see it in Instagram. Okay, cool. Cool. Joseph says selling would be increased. I want to read the Wrath of the Gods series because of the cover. Well, yeah, I want to read it as well, but because of the cover, but I just don't seem to have time, to be honest. All right, so once I've got all those ones, because those are the main renders, right? Then I'm going to go to the materials, and I'm going to hit flat color. But before I go any further, I'm going to turn off in the render properties. I'm going to turn off the ambient occlusion and shadow. Go to the BPR and turn off the BPRs that I created. So I just get the nice flat color when I render in my render pass here. So render that. Here we want this one now. We don't need the composite one. We just want the shaded one. And I'm just going to call that BPR flat off screen. Now that I've done that, I can come over to the right hand side here. And the best thing about this, because I've been painting in RGB and not in mRGB, is that I can turn off the paint layer and I can select any of these random textures now or materials and then render those out and still have that information of the texture underneath. So that's why I do that way. So I'm just going to render this one. I'm just going to pick a couple of these. I think I know what I want from these, so I'm just going to pick a couple of them. I'm just going to call this one. I'm just going to number them as well. I don't tend to give them special names. I don't really have time to give them special names, so I'm just going to render out a few, some of the few that I normally use. By the way, if you want to grab these materials and use them in your own project, then you can grab them. I think they're for free on my ArtStation. Links in the description box below. And it also shows you how to connect it inside of ZBrush. So when you open up ZBrush, you'll have them in there straight away. You don't have to go looking for them or load them up every time. So, and that's totally for free on my ArtStation. Okay. So that's number 3. I like using this one as a reflective map. It's quite nice once you get inside Photoshop. Tara says, I still get a buzz when exporting all the layers to Photoshop. Yeah, I do as well. It's the fun part. This is the fun part. I think all the sculpting and the texturing, I think I do that so often at work. I'm just so tired of doing that. I like to do the creative side of things now, like the Photoshop bashing or texturing and stuff like that. That's more my forte, my happy place, as you might say. Not to say I don't like sculpting, it's just I do it so often I just want to do something else, you know. 5. There we are. Let's grab this one. It's got a nice reflective on it. By the way, when you render these textures out, these materials out, you don't have to keep with these colors. So you can take them into Photoshop and you can change the overall, whatever you want. You can change the overall look of them inside of Photoshop. So there might be some random ones in here that I might never use, but it's still nice to have the options, you know. I don't like to have few options. Joseph says, did you think about the almanac release date? I've been working on the almanac. I'm still fixing the images for my past projects. What I wanted, like I said, I'm going to do, I'm going to vamp it up, revamp it up, get another proof made with the revamped version. If that is all good, then I'll start to work the the release date and also get them printed. So it's going to be a little while, but it's a nice it's a long project. I'm not going to rush it, you know, because then mistakes happen. So yeah, you just have to wait for that one. Unfortunately, I'll keep you guys updated though when that's coming through. That might look nice. Okay, I'm going to keep it with 8 right now, but I might jump back and forth to render out another image, render out another image and then come back into Photoshop. So I'm just going to leave it there for that, like that for now. And I'm going to now render out all the lights that I want to use, all the specular highlights and lights. So I'm just going to come up to the light section, bump this up. I used a blend because I think a blend works really well for lighting. So we'll just use that. Grab the first one. Make a new folder, call it lights. And in here, again, just going to name them by number. Because I'm lazy. I'm just going to grab some lights from this render, sort of like a rim light. Where do I want this light to come from? Yeah, put one there. 03. I like to get a few of these because you never know which ones are going to work really nicely. So I like to make sure that I have quite a few rendered out. 04. And I just want to test something real quick. And test out another material for the light. Oops, I should move this out the way quick. All right, let's try that for a room light. 5. Ooh, no, too much. Jelly bean. Jelly bean might work if we just turn the intensity down a bit. Okay. Joseph asks, what is your all-time favorite movie? Tough one. I think it's gonna have to be well, I watched a lot of Shrek when I was young. I mean, I could literally, I watched it so much that I could literally say it line for line. I think animated is Shrek. Horror, I like Alien. I'm actually quite controversial. I quite like Alien 3, and a lot of people don't like Alien 3 for some reason. So yeah, do with that what you will. I think A Knight's Tale as well for romantic rom-com. A Knight's Tale. I like. I did like. What's it called? American Pie. You know, as another rom-com sort of thing. What about you guys? What you got? What are your favorite films that you had? Just gonna make another before I get to your answers. What I'd like to do afterwards, after all the lights, I'll just make a ID map, if anybody's used Substance Painter before, you'll know what an ID map is. It's basically a masking map. Sorry. It's basically a mask map. So you can mask out things quicker inside of Photoshop. Specific things. So I'll just do that now. So, but what this is going to do is it's going to actually destroy all the texture work you've done. So remember to undo that before you close the program or save your project. So I'm just going to, again, RGB on turned on. Just going to fill this object with a red. Fill this one with a green. And this one with a blue. This one with the same green. The ones in the back, go for a lighter blue. Okay, and then what you can do is go to flat color and render out this mask. Come to renders and save that as an ID map. So BPR ID, that's what we want to call it. And then I'm just going to undo these so that I can get my color information back from what I had before. And there we are. Celestial says, why not Braveheart or Hobbit? Yeah, I like the Braveheart and Hobbit. Braveheart action or medieval action. Hobbit fantasy. Yeah, that works. Tomorrow says, too many movies to name, but still love the first Alien. Top movie for design fans. Yeah, I agree. Alien 1 was great. It's because it was so, I hate to say that word, iconic, but it really was iconic. And sort of, it was new. It was something new, you know, and you don't really get that a lot with Hollywood these days. Something new, and sticks in the mind. All right, so I got the renders. All the renders are done. So I'll just jump back into Photoshop now. All right, move you down there. Just gonna grab those renders real quick. So grab the BPR composite. I'm going to do it outside of the book cover. I'm going to composite it all outside the book cover, and then I'll bring it into the book cover and then adjust it later. So add that in here. My mouse is dying on me, which is not great. And just going to move these ones in. Wait, give me 1 second, guys. I just need to grab batteries from a different mouse. And it's probably just turn my computer back on in the background. Oops. I lost the battery. Oh, 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. I think I pressed the back button for some reason. Yeah, I don't turn my machine off from work. I normally just put it to sleep, so you just saw in the background. Turn the mouse off first before I change the batteries. That'll be pretty handy. Joseph says, from childhood I watched Universal Soldier around 1,000 times. Nowadays, favorite Doom Part 1, Part 2. Horror, I pick Alien 2, but I still like 3 and 4. So yeah, I like Universal Soldier. I think I saw it once, not many times. So good, got my batteries in. Let's go. In terms of number of times I watched it, it's Harry Potter for me. Yeah, I have to agree with that as well. I think I watched Harry Potter until the DVD broke as well. What I used to do was outside of college, university. When I came home from university, I spent a year or two with the parents, like living back home, and I got into this sort of mindset of just putting the Harry Potter films on repeat, constant repeat, whilst I worked away on my portfolio and stuff and my ZBrush skills and learned 3D. So it was kind of, you know, it's got a special part in my life where I was just slogging away with ZBrush and working long hours into the night. I remember vividly just putting the 4th Harry Potter film on like 3 times in a row, just repeat. I think it might have screwed my head up somewhere or somehow. But yeah, I really like the Harry Potter world. Like I said, I finished the game not recently, a year ago. I finished the game as a Gryffindor, and now I'm playing the game as a was it the Hufflepuff? And Hufflepuff, and I'm still fascinated by the work that went into it. And I think they're bringing out a second game, Hogwarts Legacy 2, soon. So that should be fun. Alright, so I'm not going to go through every little detail on the Photoshop side, because I've done that plenty of times before, and if you're interested in that, there's videos on my YouTube channel you can watch for free on how I do this. But I'm just going to start to play around with the renders that I have here. I brought from ZBrush, and adjust them as I go along. There's no particular order that I like to work in. I just sort of do what I think feels good with the render. This is when you start to have to think about the final product and how you want to portray it. So it's the artistic side now, the artistic mind coming out. So yeah. It's a lot of layering, basically, to get the image looking nice. Is that true? Hufflepuff is the only faculty you get to see Azkaban. No. Really? Huh. That's interesting. I'll have to look that one in. I'll have to look that one up. Oh, by the way, also, I was working in 8-bit for a very long time, but I like to work in 16-bit when I work on a massive thing like this. So it's just smoother transitions between pixels and stuff, which is nice. This one's supposed to be down there. What are you doing up there? Okay. PPR. Soft light. Bring it down a bit. Cool. Okay, so those are the basic materials I just went through very quickly. Then I'll turn on the lights and I'll start doing the same process, but I'll turn them all off and I'll go through them step by step, each one, to find the best ones to use. And this is when masking comes into play, so using the masks inside of Photoshop to mask out areas of light that shouldn't be there or are a bit too distracting on your model. But the first thing I want to do is just test these out first and see what they look like. Now, you don't have, like I mentioned before, you don't have to use all of them. In fact, you're probably better off not using all of them, and you're only using a few of them. You can see here, if I turn this on and off, you can see where we have to mask out the light source. So anything that's on the inside of the model will have to be masked out with this, with that one. Too much. I'm going to leave these ones off for now, so I only have 3 selected at the moment. I'm going to leave those ones off, but before I start masking out the lights, I'm just going to continue on to the shadow map and just turn that on with a multiply and just see how that looks. Now remember, we don't like to use 100% black, so when you do have your shadows set to multiply, just remember to bring down the opacity and fill a little bit, so it's a little bit transparent. The shadow's a little bit transparent, okay? And then with the ambient occlusion, I like to double the ambient occlusion or make a copy of it, and then go to adjustments, levels, and adjust the levels of this ambient occlusion. Bring some of that dark back, and go to multiply. Okay, and the normal map is a special map that I like to use. I usually go into the channels and I select one of these channels to light my scene, or light my character. So I'm going to, it's normally the green channel, so just go Control A, Control C to copy that color channel, and then I'll stick this on top of the light source or the lights, and I'll make that into a soft light. And you can see when it's turned off, it's all a little bit dull, right? But when you turn it on, it kind of gives that nice light source coming from the top down, and brings everything together. So you can also pull this down as well a little bit. Now, if you feel like it's a little bit washed out, you can come back into the PBR flat and just bump up these colors a bit more. But remember, we still have to fix the lights. So this rim light here is a particular problem. So just going to use a nice soft round brush, make a mask, create a mask, and then just paint this out. Now this is, I use this technique because it's non-destructive, and I think the best way to work is a non-destructive way. So I'm painting out all the, you might not be able to see it very well, but I'm just painting out all the rim light from the center of the model, because the rim light is just supposed to be around the edge of the model, right? It's not supposed to be anywhere on the model otherwise. So you might not see it, but it is actually taking out all the rim light. And as I mentioned before, I like to do this sooner rather than later. So just gonna leave the very edge of the dragon with a rim light. Okay, and I think this one here is a bit too much going on here, so we're just gonna bring down the opacity a bit. You guys can hear me all right over the mic, hopefully. Hope it's not screwed. So this ambient occlusion, I'm just going to adjust this, adjust the levels, and bring this down. Bring this up. Let's bring the white up and the darker tones down, like so. Then I'm going to go to the channels, hit Control on the keyboard, hold down Control on the keyboard, and tap on the RGB. This is going to mask out all those dark areas. And then what I can do is make a new layer, turn the BPR off, the ambient occlusion off, sorry. And what I can do is, I know it's a sapphire, it's a lot of sapphire going on, but I think what I like to do is add a little bit of a different color. So I was thinking of a more skin tone pink or something else rather than just the average blue, right? So I can flood that with that color, and then see what we can do with this color. So there's a little hint of orange coming through. What I can do next is come into here and adjust the slider so you can see more of it. And you can also change the color if you want. Something else, some other color you want. Let's go there. Even adjust the brightness as well. Yep. Now we can use a mask, so create a mask. You can just see on the scales here, it's a bit too much coming through here, so I'm just gonna take that out of the back there, right? And out of the side here a little bit. I really just want it to be around the eyes and the sort of nozzle of the mouth there. So the rest of it can be a little bit bluer. And speaking of bluer, you can duplicate the base model or the base image and adjust the hue saturation. Let's make it more blue. That, and Control I to invert the mask. And what you can do is very lightly bring some of that blue back in some key areas where it might be a little bit too dull. Okay. Oh, we forgot about the specular map here. So this reflective map, I normally keep this until near the end to work with, because it's got a very unique usage when I use it. What I do is I bring up the lightness quite a bit, to about 40, 42, and then I'll turn this to a hard light. Right, so you can see it's got a lot of reflectivity going on now. And that's exactly what we want. Now you can leave it as a color map, or you can adjust it and desaturate it so that it's a black and white map, but it still gives you that reflection on it. And then you can just come in here, create a mask, make it completely black, and it's kind of like a wetness, right? It's like a wet map. They're used to add some wet sheen to the model. As you see, I was working quite far away from the image. It's a good idea to do that as well, to stay quite far back from your image before you, whilst you're working on it in the early stages. This just helps to keep you overall looking at the model, just like you would in ZBrush. You know, you look around the model, it's an entirety. You know what I'm saying. Just gonna pull back on these scales down here. In fact, oops, where am I going? What we can do is at the top here of the pile, make a new layer. Now I'm very messy when it comes to layers, so I like to just make new layers and just keep making new layers and new layers. It's just the way that I work. It's just really quick. But before we actually use that layer, I need to cut out everything that I don't need, right? So just kind of cut in, invert the mask. So I selected the BPR mask, then I'm inverting the mask. And I'm just going to delete all the background from all of these. Why is that locked? All of these images. Even the ones that are hidden, you want to delete those as well, because you don't know, you might want to use them later. And it's easier just to delete all the backgrounds now than it is to delete them later. So just go ahead and delete all the backgrounds. Okay. And then I'm going to make a background for our image to sit on. So I like to go quite dark with a dark grey, not a black, not a white, but slightly dark grey. It's a very neutral color to use. So that's pretty cool. Then what you can do is come up to the top layer here. Oh, actually, we haven't used a depth map yet. Depth map is pretty cool because you can use it to, in a multiply way, in order to hide or darken certain areas, right? So if we turn it on, you can kind of see, if we bring this all the way to the top, you'll see it better. So all the white parts is where it's going to be in mostly out of shadow, and all the darker parts is where it's going to sort of dip in and out of shadow depending on how far it is from the camera. So what we can do here is actually come in and adjust the levels so we can get more darkness on the neck, this typical area here, because the face is actually where we want to keep the focus, right? And we can bring the blacks up a bit as well, and we can say okay, and then here we can just hit multiply, and you can kind of gauge how it's going to be. I think it's a little too dark actually, so what we might want to do is just test it first on the normal settings. It looks all right. Let me just go to adjustments, levels, and bring that down. That's pretty cool. I'll keep it like that. You'll probably see, well, you won't see, you know, probably won't see, but what I'll tend to do is use that depth map like that for a very long time, and then for some reason I'll just come in, make a mask on that depth map, and then just start to paint it out in areas that I want to sort of add some more, add less depth or shadow to. So yeah, bit of a love-hate relationship with that map. This one. So we don't need to have all the lights down here because we're not focusing down here so much. We want to focus up here in the middle of the face. Even on the book, you can kind of see that the face is very well lit, but the rest of it's a very in shadows and stuff. So you can use that to your advantage, really. Joseph says, how do you delete the selected area and keep the selection to jump the next layer? For me, the selection always disappears right after the deletion. That's strange. It's never happened with me. So what I normally do, I'll just show you. So you go to BPR, the mask, sorry. I go into channels and I hit Control, hold down Control, tap on RGB, and then come back into layers and BPR, turn off BPR. I think it might have something to do with some settings up here, maybe. New selection, add selection, subtract from selection, intersect from selection. Tricky one. It doesn't normally disappear with me. Select inverse. Save selection, make work. Delete and fill selection, deselect. That's a strange one. I've never seen that one before, Joseph, unfortunately. If anyone else knows in the comment section, please help out Joseph. I've never had that issue where the selection mask disappears after I've deleted something, so That's a bit weird. Or maybe it's the magic wand. Yeah, I just use yeah, up here, the selection button up here, not the magic wand. Yeah, maybe it's that. Anyway, let's continue on. So once I have all those down, I'm going to select all of these. Actually, I need to select all of these apart from the background. I put that in a folder, and if you want, if you're desperate or if you're a bit forgetful, you can say dragon. You can call it dragon bust or something, you know, like so. And then same thing with this. You can call this BG for background, and you can put that in the background just to keep things nice and tidy, obviously. And in here, I'll make a new folder. Oops, a new folder inside a dragon bus, and call this eyes, or you can call it details. You can call it what you like. I normally don't call it anything at all, but that's just me. And I'm just going to zoom in, grab a nice bright color. Now the eyes are picking up that map that we had, which was the sort of, which is this one, I think it is. Yeah, this one here, which is kind of like a cavity map. So what we want to do is make a mask for this, because the eyes don't need a cavity map. They should be squishy and soft. So I'll just paint that out. Did I paint that out? I must have painted it out. And I'm just going to go through these real quick. I'm just going to check the other ones. See if it's having an effect there as well. That one's having an effect. So I'm just going to paint that out. Okay, I think that's about it. Back up to the eye. In here, we'll just stick this in there. Oh god, what did I do? There it is. Okay. Grab that brush I had. And a white. Now, just going to zoom into the eyeball here. Just see how that looks. So this is why I like to do photo bashing with eyes, because the reflection map is already there, so I don't have to worry about making my own. So I just want to put a little bit of a dot in here, and a bit of dot here as well, or like a bit of what do you call it? Liquid in the iris. Like that sheen you get. Right? Now make a new layer. And I want to darken that now. So I'm just going to darken the top half of the eye. Real quick. Make that a multiply. Just zoom out, see if it works as well. Sometimes it doesn't work very well, so you just need to come in and clean it up a bit. It's quite nice, isn't it? That's quite a nice eye. Let's just check the chat real quick. Okay, it's just tomorrow helping out Joseph. That's cool. Nice to see everybody's helping each other out, being friendly. Okay, let's add. I want to add a bit of brighter blue in here. See how this works. God, so many people. Hurry it. Hold on. Criminal line is the name of that wet bit on the eye. Oh? Or tear line. For sure. Just been studying that. You studying it for art or studying it for other things? Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way. It's really good on my nose. Soft round brush. For art. Okay, cool. Pretty eyes. Thank you very much, Celestial. Thank you. Yes, I am quite happy with how they came out. Just going to try and darken the top low lid. I really want to make that pop. Okay. We need to go back to the lights because I can see from this side here, you can see all this needs to be gotten rid of because it's just too much underneath that area there. It's supposed to be in shadow, so we'll just get rid of it, paint it out. And then on the actual shadow, can we make this lighter or? Okay, and okay. I think we're about nearly halfway there, guys. Thank you. Yes, I think it looks pretty nice. It's coming up pretty nice. Just checking the reference. What else should I do? Oh, I know. Tools, VFX, and let's get that trusty texture in. So, this nice textured pattern. We'll just stick that in here. And I'm just going to make it smaller, much smaller. And I'm just going to duplicate this a couple of times. And then I'm going to merge these. And then duplicate these a couple of times. And then merge these. And I'm going to add a bit of Gaussian blur to it, so it just blurs the image a bit. Okay. And I'm going to just control click on any of the images on the side here, and it will give you the selection for the mask of the dragon, and just invert the selection and hit delete, and that will just delete all the extra texture that we don't need. Now bring this down to below the lights and above the flat, so it doesn't mess up with any of the other ones. And just going to turn this onto soft selection or soft light. Now you might not be able to see it, but if I zoom in, you'll be able to see these little dots all over the dragon. It just gives the illusion of extra scales as well as imperfections on those scales. You can even come in here and adjust the color to desaturate, so it's more darker blues and hues like that. Oh, fuck. I'm just going to hit Control Z because I kind of like the colors. I just want to see if I can change the colors of it. Something else maybe. Again, I don't want to stray too far away from. That's pretty nice. Too far away from Sapphire because it is supposed to be a Sapphire dragon. I'm just going to make a mask. Hit Control I to invert that mask, and now with a soft brush, I'm going to very lightly just introduce that texture back in to the image. And this is where photo bashing and photo texturing really comes into itself, and you can really have some good fun manipulating the image further. So see, this is the fun part. I find this is the most relaxing part of any of my designs, is just doing it inside of Photoshop like that. What else have we got in here? Let's try this. Let me try this rusty metal that I've got. Now you might be thinking, what's he going to do with the rusty metal? You'll see. Hopefully this works, and I won't have to explain myself. But let's see. I'm just going to duplicate it a couple of times, merge it, and then I'm going to come over to this little plaster tool over here, the far right corner here, the spot healing tool, and I'm just going to paint out those sort of lines that you see, some seam lines you would call them. Just paint them out. Doesn't have to be perfect. None of this ever has to be perfect, by the way. The more imperfect it is, the more organic it looks, and less like it's been manufactured, I guess you could say. So let's say that's what I've got. I'm gonna grab that mask, select inverse, delete, and let me just test this out. Oh wait, before we do that, we need to, before we delete it, we need to go put a bit of blur on it so it's not so hard, and then delete the excess. And also going to make this desaturated. Oops. Desaturate. Flipping through these things is always a mission. Tomorrow says, "Hi Marcus, sorry if I missed it, but is there a texture pack available somewhere for tile stamping the image like this, or do you just have to go rooting around on the web to make a collection?" I just went around and found some images, mate. They're all here. These are just ones that I found online. I have got Adobe stock. I've got a subscription with them, and I get some images from there. But normally, I just go online, find an image, and just photo bash it inside of Photoshop. Oh, sorry, inside of Photoshop. So, yeah, it's the artistic side that comes out when you're doing this. It's the point of, you know, having to use your noggin to think up ways to make things look interesting and work for you in your project. So just going to add this onto all those hard plates now. Just adds that bit of detail for them. It's like surface detail. And I'm just going to drop the opacity a bit. Subtlety is the key. Oh yes, I did add it in the Dragon Boss tutorial. I added a few in there. Thank you, Joseph. I completely forgot. Did that one so long ago. I completely forgot about that. Okay, I think I found one which has got a few too much going on in the lights in this one. So just going to pull back on the lights on there. Sorry, just laughing. Tomorrow says I think I've actually got that tutorial, which is funny. Cool. I think, yeah, give me 1 second. I just need to have a quick think about this. Gotta get rid of these lights in the back here, because they serve no purpose at all. And what I'll do as well is at the top here, I'll make a new layer, grab a mask from one of these images, so it's the full dragon mask, select invert, select inverse, so you're selecting the dragon, and I'm going to grab the gradient tool with the linear gradient. I'm just going to quickly test something. No, not that one. Let's do this one. This spiral, the circle. I'm just going to make it darker at the bottom here because I don't want anyone to be looking down there, okay, at the bottom there. So I'm just going to make that area darker. Than the rest. How does that look? Not looking too bad. Just trying to think, is there anything else I need? I wonder. Let's try putting this one in. And oops, let's scale it down quite a bit. And just going to duplicate this. In order to duplicate this quicker, by the way, is just hold down Alt and click and drag on it, and it will just duplicate it for you. Okay. Shift and select all of them and merge, and Gaussian blur, and again select the mask, mask out the dragon, delete the excess. Where is that map? It's at the top. Bring it down. It's about here. Ooh. Ooh, that looks so cool. I don't know if you can see that on my screen, but on your screens very well. But it looks pretty cool when you start using these values. I like the color on it. I like having color on it, but I don't like the color it's coming out. So I'm just going to again stay near sapphire. And let's add some level to that. I think that's all right. And we're going to just paint this in by hand. Okay, and do we have that on overlay or soft light? Oh, I like that. Kind of gives a nice glintiness to it, you know, like a little sparkle to it maybe. Okay, I think I'm ready now to... Shall I bring it into the book first? No, wait, let's just see what the book looks like, the background. Okay, so the background, pretty basic. Let's just get the background in. Make a new layer. I'm actually going to close this whole top part. There we are. Right, so what I normally tend to do is use the bucket, the gradient tool, and just start to add some gradients. Now we know that there's a massive dark patch just on his left hand side there, or on her left hand side, so we're just going to add a dark patch there. It's too dark. Dark patch here, and then we can come in with the midway gradient. And what I like to do is I like to color pick from the model or the image, because then it can sort of blend the sources together better, you know. Yeah, if this works for you. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. And then you can just needs to be a bit bluer. Okay, that works, but we need to put on a new layer. It's too much. 1 second. Okay, that looks pretty nice. And we can add a new layer and new gradient. This one's going to have a little bit more light in the bottom here, so we can add some light to the bottom here. Now I know there's a massive dark patch there, so we might have to veer away from the original concept a little bit more. So we can add maybe the dark patch here, and then add a new layer. Grab that trusty cloud brush that I have. This does pretty much all the heavy lifting for me, by the way, this cloud brush. So just grab that and let's start to paint in some nice fluffy clouds in the background. Taking it very slowly and gradually, just building up some clouds. Just color picking, by the way, from the image, not worried too much. Okay, let's add another gradient, and this will kind of be like a spotlight that's in the back of the head here, right? So sort of just falls out from the middle there. You can add that as whatever you like. Kind of a halo effect. If you really want, you can come in with a color bucket, paint bucket, and use a random color, or a more of a blue color now, just to get an overall sort of sapphire look going. It just blends it a little bit better. I see this rim light on this character has got a bit too much going on there. So we just come back in here and we look for that light. That's the one. You can see there's a little bit too much going on there. So we're just going to use a soft brush and paint that out. And this is where this is where you should get really anal about the lights. There it is. About your model. See all this here in the middle of the head here can be painted out because that's a rim light that's coming through, which shouldn't be there. Right. So we can paint that all out. That one. Just paint them out here as well, just in case there's any hiding in there. And down here in the nostril as well. Yeah, this is the hard part, just cleaning up the final render. What's that one? Master Splinter says that looks dope. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm hoping it's gonna wow a certain author so that I can make the rest of the books for him. Just gonna come back to this background real quick because it still looks a little bit too heavy in the top here, top left hand corner. So I'm just gonna brighten it a little bit. Also add a much lighter cloud. Maybe not. Actually, what I'll do is instead I'll use a gradient ramp and I'll add a nice white line going through the center there. Where's it? Maybe it needs to be bigger. There we go. Be nice to have this as a poster as well, wouldn't it? Am I going to add the title on it as well? I have. I think did I not show that earlier in the chat? I already made a sort of a basic cover that I'm going to stick this character in once I finish pissing about with it. So yeah, I will add it to that in a minute. I'm still not happy with that light at the top there. What's going on there? It's that one. Found it. Just get rid of you there. There we are. That's better. It's just bugging the hell out of me, that one. Is that one as well? Or... yeah, that's better. Okay, so let's go to the very top now. Top, close, add a new layer, call this adjustments. And this is where I was just say this is where the fun starts, but actually we started the fun quite a while ago. So this is just the final touches, as you say. So first of all, I'm going to go to brightness, add a brightness. Just bump up the brightness slightly, maybe bring down the contrast a little bit. Then I'm going to add a level. And I'm going to pick the darkest area on the model, the lightest area on the model. And if you're wondering where the lightest area of the model is, just hold down Alt, and anywhere where it's the whitest of white is where the lightest area is on the model. Okay. And then I'm going to start to pick, just to check some colors real quick. There we go, that's fine. Now this is a bit too much, so we can actually pull this back. And we can bring in... I wonder if we need a color lookup. Sometimes we do need a color lookup, sometimes we don't need a color lookup. So what this does is you can just use this as like a filter, and it just has a bunch of filters in here. Probably best to use it on color. So you can sort of cycle through these and see what filters look like. It might even make it better, it might make it worse. It just depends on what you're looking for, I guess. Just going to cycle through them real quick. I don't think I'm going to use it at all, to be fair. I might use that one actually, but on a much lower opacity. Okay. And then we can, if you want, you can work with vibrance and saturation, so you can make it a bit more vibrant if you like. Add a bit of vibrancy to it, or saturation to it. And also exposure. Where is it? Exposure. Just going to add a bit of exposure, but I'm not going to add it all over the model. So I'm going to make it a dark mask. Same thing with the brightness as well. We'll do that in a minute. Hold on. Where's my pen? There it is. Okay, so I just want to brighten the exposure around this area in particular the most. So just around the face, right? And then on the lights, the brightness here, Control I to invert the mask. And then I'm just going to paint in some brightness in a particular area, which is the top part. The bottom part, we don't need that much brightness on the bottom part, so we could in fact use brightness again. This time bring it down, make it darker, in Control I on the keyboard to invert, and then paint in a darker area at the bottom, so that works in your favor. So your eyes should be focusing on this part, just here, a bit more. It's you kind of hiding what you don't want to see, but focusing on what you want the person to look at, basically. And I think that exposure is just a little bit high, so I should bring it down a little bit. Okay, now let's move everything over to the book cover. There we are. Is it going to fit? Oh, wait. No, 1 second. Didn't work. I think it's such a big image. It's going to take a while to... Okay, here we go. Whoa! Blimey. Right, let's just scale you down. And also, let's put this underneath the frame. Okay. Now, underneath, on top of this adjustment layer, we could, if we wanted to blend it in to the sort of the border colors, if you wanted to. I mean, I think it looks pretty good as it is, but you can just bring this in and how am I going to do this? I don't know how I'm going to do this one. Soft light. And then what I'll do is I will merge these ones. So this is dragon, bull, and I'll duplicate that. Merge group. I'm going to crop the book cover, and I might just bring this back up. It's very dark in this bottom right hand corner, so maybe we can lighten it up again. Maybe even turn it off completely and brighten it. Why is it so dark there? What did I do? Just going to check the layers real quick. I did something to make that really dark. Is it that? Yeah, it's that one. Okay, that's better. It's a little better. Let's add some of this. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, the lettering's not great. The Aragon lettering down here is not great, but I think overall it didn't come out too bad. I mean, compared to the original. Let me just pull this out. What do you guys think? You think it's all right? Oh, I didn't finish it off. Hold on. Turn that one on. Actually, delete that one. Duplicate this one. Oops. Merge group and filter, sharpen, smart sharpen. This is just going to give it an overall sharpen to the image. Chris makes it a bit more tighter on the details. Don't have to be too high. And there we are. That's it. We've made the first book of Aragon by Christopher Paolini. Paoli? Yeah. Celestia says she's pretty. Well, thank you very much. Now I just need to get it in front of the author's face. But yeah, that's been how to do a book cover. A very basic book cover, I must say. Inside of ZBrush. 1 second, let me just make this color. Oops, pull that out of the way. A little brighter. There we go. That's a little better. And this one. There we go. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Oh, 5 dragons. Thank you. I thought you were going to say there's 5 dragons to do. I was like, oh, God. You know what? I think outside of this live stream, I might just do all of them and see what kind of response I get online for them, because that's been fun. I liked it, and I think it works. It works well for a reimagined book cover, when you say. I mean, it's definitely better than the film's version. You know, of the film version. But I think these ones here are really good as well. Like the artists who did these ones are really good. And you can see we tried to keep our goal in mind when we were doing this, trying to make that sapphire blue look. I mean, a blue dragon's very difficult to do. You know, if it was a red dragon or anything like that, I think it'd be a lot easier. But I mean, blue is pretty difficult to achieve. So I think we did quite well with the attempt there, and I think it's going to work. It's going to look really good once I finish it off. But the majority of it is finished. So yeah, what do you guys think? I know Tomorrow likes it. It gives me 5 dragons out of 5, hopefully. Now, if I was to do this for an actual book cover, I'd spend a little bit more time cleaning it up a little bit more, really playing with the textures a bit more. But because this is a live stream, I just had to do it as I went along. But yeah, I think it's worked pretty well. I mean, look at you got these ones here as well. You got this inheritance one I could work on as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's it, guys. It's a 2.5 hour live stream. My God, so I'm gonna hate myself tomorrow morning. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I will put this up online for people to see at some point. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. I want to just say thank you to all my members and all my Patreons. If you're not a member or a Patreon yet, then please consider becoming one, so I can do all this artwork for you guys. And also it keeps the lights on as well, which is really handy. But yeah, so next Thursday we need to think of something else. Get your thinking caps on. If you're a member of the Discord, you can leave your thoughts in Discord, what you'd like to see sculpted next, or something else, probably completely different, maybe. I like to keep the Thursday ones to a relatively short project, so if you have an idea for a short project that we could possibly look at doing, then I'm all up for that. So yeah, let me know in the comments on my Discord if you have any thoughts. I have a thought in mind. It could be quite fun, but it could be quite overwhelming. But I'll leave it there for tonight. I'll see you all on Monday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and get ready for more anatomy cleanup on Monday. So be there at 8:30, 8:25, 8:30, and I'll just leave you now. And have a good weekend, and I'll see you all on Monday. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in more exclusive content and want to support my work further, then please check out my Patreon page at MLW_creative for more. Also, view past live streams you might have missed in Tier 3 tutorial support, where I will be archiving future streams moving forward. If you are interested in other full-length tutorials, brushes and models, then check out my online stores for more useful content. I would also like to thank all my subscribers and patrons for supporting me for this long. Again, thanks for watching and stay safe.